Okay, we are going to install the sync client to sync between QuickBooks Desktop and Fourlane CX. So what you want to do is you want to go to https://apps.fourlane.com/Fourlane, capital F, /framework, capital F, sync, SYNC, and then / again. You will be given this link in URL in your welcome email when your licensing and instance is initiated. So when I run the sync client, it will take me to this install screen. I can go ahead and hit install. Now notice the following prerequisites are required. We do need the Microsoft.NET Framework 4.8. Most computers have this on it already. Okay, and so it's going to go ahead and go through the installation process here. And it asks, would you like to install this application? I'm going to go ahead and say install. Now you should not have to restart your computer after any kind of installations. And the look of if you restart the sync client and there is any modifications to the client, the look of it is going to be the same for any kind of update installation, and any updates are pushed through automatically without you having to download, right? It just pulls from the online server and pushes them in. So now you can see sync client is installed on the computer. Now the next step is to go in to your settings, and you want to put in your API URL. The API URL is how we say which company is connected to which instance online. So this URL will also be provided to you when you are given your licensing and instance information. So we come into settings, we paste in https:// the individual URL for the company that you're working on. So we will ask as part of the onboarding, what would you like your URL to be? That URL is going to be unique to each individual company that is syncing with CX. So when I go in to log into the CX product, I will be going to https:// Madams, that's Marjorie Adams. I never use the Madams anywhere because it sounds funny, but Marjorie Adams, madams.fourlanecx.com. And in this section, we have to push the /API/ because what we're doing is we're saying, okay, the company file that we are about to sync with is going to go into and connect through the API of this URL. Okay. Now, where can we go wrong if we do something? If we potentially go in and we spell Madams wrong, or maybe we forget to put the API, an error code will pop up and say that it cannot find the instance that you're trying to connect to. So you have to remember that API on the end and the / again. So examples, if you had, the Rose Shop is the name of the customer, then they may want it to say the Rose Shop.fourlanecx.com, or they may want it to say just roseshop.fourlanecx.com. And of course, it's first come, first serve, similar to working with other companies like Salesforce or anything like that. So they will have their own unique URL. So I'm going to go ahead and say OK. Then once I do that, I can come in and select a company file by adding a company here. And when I hit Add Company inside of QuickBooks, you have to be logged in as the admin and into the company file. But inside of QuickBooks, the first thing it's going to do, just as the same with any third-party application trying to access the QuickBooks file, it will pop up this application certificate. I like to choose yes whenever this QuickBooks company file is open, because company files do have to be open in order to utilize the API, and then also allow this application to access personal data. I don't always know what this means, but we do check it off because the stuff that we're pushing back and forth, we don't want there to be any barriers. Now, again, allowing access, if the company file is closed, like QuickBooks is closed, you can still use CX. It just caches the information that needs to be synced into QuickBooks Desktop until you open it again, just like any third-party application. So I'm going to go ahead and say continue here. It says, are you sure you want to do this? You say done. And then when I come back into the sync client, now it will show here Fourlane demo file. Now, it already showed that beforehand because I have actually installed this on my computer before. But this Fourlane demo file here, now the API settings, right, madams.fourlanecx.com, is linked to this demo file. Okay. So with the sync, a couple of things that you can take into account. So you can, if you come in, if you have multiple company files, you do need to select which company file you're syncing for. What a lot of our customers are doing is they are setting up the sync. If they have multiple company files, they are setting up the sync for, Fourlane demo file 1 on computer 1, Fourlane demo file 2 on computer 2. So when you're in a hosted environment, if the accounting-based users are accessing QuickBooks through there, they would have a similar thing. They would have a sync running on multiple computers. However, this sync and this API, the first time we sync it together, it is linked. So if I go to Fourlane demo file 2, boom, down here, and the wrong company file is open, it will pop up an error and say this instance is tied to this file name, and that those two things don't match. So you've got the wrong company file open for this sync. Please go ahead and fix that. All right, so I've added the company file. If I needed to close the connection to the company file at any point in time, I could close it. That way I could select a secondary company file. When you initially open the sync, it does default open in pause mode because we do have to have a place, right, when you're doing the sync where you say don't run. It runs so quickly that if we didn't have it set in pause mode when you first open the sync, then it would be a problem. So then you just hit resume sync, and then it's going to go ahead and send everything across. Now, the first time you can go ahead and hit update selected. It will start to run through and pull all the information that you have going between the two files. And you can see it working down below here where it says processing request, bill payment, bill assembly, transactions, right? So you can see where it's at. Now, obviously, this is a very small sample file. If you have a large file, it will take more time, but it's not going to take the same kind of time that like some of the other applications that sync will do in, 48 hours, et cetera. It is going to still be significantly faster. We have seen syncs going on for a couple of hours, but it's not as heavy of a weight because of the way that the sync tool is written on both the system that is running QuickBooks and on the QuickBooks file itself, which is why it can run so quickly. So that initial sync will take a little bit of time, but we're not talking, I know that there have been some field service management files before that have taken 48 hours to sync because they had 40,000 clients and it just takes forever. That is not what you're going to be experiencing here. Okay, so now that we have everything synced, you can go into your instance of Fourlane CX, and you will, so I just go to the madams.fourlanecx.com, and when I log in there, I will now see all of the information that has synced up from my QuickBooks Desktop file. So it's just that easy. It shouldn't take a tremendous amount of work. If there are any errors for any kind of reason, then those errors will be displayed here under what the request is and what the response is. And if there are any errors, you'll also see them down below here. Times where we've seen errors have been in corrupt data usually. So having transactions that are missing I think you guys have seen things like, it has everything that looks like an item, but the item's actually missing. So it looks like an item is on the line, but the item's actually missing from the line. Things like that, it will pop up and tell errors. But even in some of the most corrupt files, we have had very few issues. We do suggest that you come in before you do the sync and do a couple of verify and rebuilds, just to make sure that anything small that is in the database you can get rid of, but it is not required to do that. What we found is that our customers who utilize CX, once the data is pushed up there, it is much easier to deal with the data once it's up there in CX, and CX handles the data correctly without the corruption that exists in QuickBooks, just because it's in the more modern technology. So a lot of times what we've seen is people will use that error log if there are any errors that pop up, and they will allow that to be a guide for what needs to be fixed, basically. So it's just that easy. Install the sync client, make sure you connect to QuickBooks for the first time, and pop yourself right into the CX product and start poking around.